Is this a typewriter? Have we gone back to the mid 20th century? Actually, this is the QL75 typewriter mechanical keyboard by Yunzi. In this video, I'm going to tell you who might consider getting something like this and tell you all it can do, including this lever. It actually works. Let's get into it. I've reviewed a number of mechanical keyboards on this channel. Some of my favorite keyboards come from a company called Yunzi. So when they asked me to take a look at this typewriter keyboard, I didn't hesitate. My name is Patrick, and this is Everyday Tech for Everyday People. Today I'm looking at the Yunzi QL75 typewriter mechanical keyboard. Full disclosure, Yunzi did reach out to me and asked me if I'd take a look at this keyboard. Although they did offer this keyboard to me for free, they're not seeing this video before it goes up. All my opinions are my own. So we're going to do a little bit of an unboxing here. Full disclosure, I did open this already just to try it out, but I did put everything back as neatly as possible. But here is the box to give you a size comparison. This is my iPhone 16 Pro, so I'm going to set that aside now. But it comes in a very huge box. It's pretty nice, and it's very well packaged together. So here we have where art meets next level typing. So the Yunzi logo here, very nice box. Note accessories are underneath. It means underneath the inside of the package. And we have some of our other stats and specs and regulation stuff that they always need to put, including some warnings. Nothing on the top, and just the Yunzi logo on the right side here. So let's go ahead and unbox this. Remember, this is quite big. Get this out. We have a sheet here. Shows our QL75. Some foam padding here. And here is our keyboard slash typewriter. Now, when you get this, this does come in a plastic wrap. I did take that off. So I'm going to take this out. It's not quite looking the color in this camera here, but it has this kind of nice pastel type old looking green. It's looking a little aqua a little bit on camera, but hopefully some of the other shots with the different cameras can give you a better representation of the look. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment. In here, we have some of the documentation, which I have already taken out already because I needed to know how to pair this with my iPad that I was using. And you have all the directions here in a bunch of languages, Japanese, Chinese, and on the back, of course, we have our English version here. So this gives you a lot of the different shortcuts. I'm not sure how accurate this is based on some of the things I did try, but yeah, at least I was able to get through some of the pairing process and some of the major functions. Other than that, they give you a cleaning cloth and some other more detailed instructions and directions in here. Then on top here, we have our accessories, and I have not yet opened this, but let's see what's in here. We have our USB-C cable. When we have additional, I believe, switches, which is kind of hard to take out here. Or get it from the other side. We have 2 additional switches. There are no keycap pullers or switch pullers. So I have not looked under some of the keycaps. I don't know if I'll do it in this video, but at least we have some additional key switches that they did give us. So these are all the accessories here. Then taking a look at this keyboard, again, this thing is a lot bigger than I expected. We have a lever here that actually works by default as a carriage return, so kind of giving you that old typewriter look. Now, if you're not old enough to know what that means, that's okay. I'll explain that a little bit later when we start doing typing tests. Then you have 2 different knobs here. This one is mainly for pairing that I found out. We can switch between the different modes by holding First by holding it down and then switching it between Bluetooth 1 through 3. And then we also have a 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongle. This side is mainly our media button here to mute and then the change of volume, which is really nice. I like knobs in my keyboards, and Yunzi makes a lot of keyboards that have knobs in them that make it very good. And just finishing up on the top, we have our slot here that I'm mainly going to use. This was my iPad actually, and I'll get to a little bit more of that in the video as well. But finishing up, we have a USB-C port here, on and off switch. We can switch between Mac and Windows layouts, which is very nice. And then on the bottom, we have our 2.4 wireless dongle or USB dongle. There's some tape here that I haven't taken off, and we have some nice rubber feet here. So this is a quick kind of tour, unboxing and tour around this keyboard. And let's get into some of the functionality and some of my thoughts about this keyboard. Let me go through some of the basic functions of this keyboard. As I mentioned before, there is a slot on top for an iPad, which actually works quite well and puts my 11-inch iPad Pro at a very good viewing angle. On the right side, we have this knob that can use to switch between the different connections. We have 3 different slots for Bluetooth devices. Then we have the 2.4 gigahertz USB dongle, or you could plug it in via USB-C to make it a wired keyboard. On the left side knob, we have the volume control, and it doubles as a button to unmute and mute the sound. Now, this little lever right here is mostly aesthetic. Now, if you've never seen a typewriter, an old typewriter before, they used to have these levers that function as a new line or a carriage return button. Essentially, it's the enter button on modern computer keyboards. Now, old typewriters didn't have the enter button. You had to physically use a lever to switch to a new line. Now, Yunzii has made this lever functional and not just decoration. And yes, they defaulted it as the enter key. This can be customized on your computer with the software, but I'll get into that in a little bit later. Now, there are basic functions, especially as it relates to the backlight. You can change the pattern of the backlight or make it reactive so it responds to your key press as well. You can change the speed of the certain backlight modes by using the function plus the left and right arrow keys. You can adjust the brightness with the function key up and down arrow keys. There are a number of other keyboard shortcuts, and I won't get into them right now. Now, the one thing I'll point out is that the instructions that come with this keyboard might be out of date. There are some function keyboards that didn't seem to work for me, and then the media keys on top didn't seem to be correct either. Either way, it wasn't a big deal for me. And I think you can change a lot of these things via software, if you're using it on a computer, of course. So Yunzi is doing something clever as far as the application is concerned. They're using a web app to use this. So you can go to usevia.app, and I'm going to go ahead and authorize my device here. So I've already installed my profile, but Yunzi does offer a profile on their website for the QL75, so that's why I have the proper layout here. These knobs here correspond to the left and right knob, and this enter button here, it corresponds to the lever. So now I can do some basic configurations of this keyboard. Now I've already downloaded the profile from the Yunzi website and loaded it into this app. So now I have the proper layout. These 2 knobs correspond to the 2 knobs on the keyboard itself, and the enter or this key right here corresponds to the lever. So right now it's set to enter, and this is a basic way to remap your keyboard with the different keys. I've expanded the screen a little bit so you can see most of the different keys that you can customize all these different buttons. One thing I'll note is these different levers, they don't allow you to customize them in the app itself. When you hit and the enter key, I can go ahead and customize that to my liking. And the other thing I'm going to point out is these different layers here. And I found out that layer 2 is actually the Mac layer. So you can put this keyboard into a Windows or Mac layer. Layer 0 is the Windows layer. Layer 2 is the Mac layer. So I can go ahead and customize this enter button. And let's say I want it to make the mute and unmute toggle. So right now I'm just going to do that right now. And you can't see it, but I already did it on my computer and I can see it muting and unmuting, but I'm going to just set this back to enter. So this is a kind of cool way that you can do things. Now, layer one is the Windows plus function key. Layer three is the Mac plus function key. So I can say function and then do any kind of um, customization to this keyboard. And this software is mainly to remap keys or assign keys that have been assigned yet. You do have to play around with the different settings here to see what works and what doesn't work. For example, I wanted to make this key right here, which is the home key, uh, toggle on and off while I press function. So I'm on layer three here, the Mac function layer. And so I thought BL toggle was the one, but actually it's RGB toggle. So I select the key, hit RGB toggle, and now function home is the one that toggles on and off the RGB backlit. Now, the good news is it's saved to the keyboard itself. And so then when I switch to another device, let's say I switch back to my iPad, I can use the function home key to toggle on and off the backlight. I've already touched on some of the functionality and let you hear how it sounds, but now let's talk about the design and overall feel. Now, normally I start with how a product looks before diving into how it works. But in this case, the real draw of this keyboard is the aesthetics and the emotional connection it creates. Yes, it has an unmistakably typewriter-inspired design, but beyond that, you get to choose between soft pastel green or a gentle pastel pink, both giving you a retro charm that's hard to ignore. In a world saturated with high-tech tools and constant digital noise, there's something refreshing about stepping back. You often hear about writers wanting to disconnect, to strip things down, to return to the basics, pen, paper, or even a typewriter, just to focus on the pure act of creating. Now, this typewriter gives me those same vibes. I can imagine using this in a room with my iPad in the slot and just start writing. And in my case, writing out YouTube scripts. Now, one of the biggest challenges I face when making videos is just sitting down to write. Whether it's a full script or even just a rough outline, I realize I need to shift my mindset to be more intentional about the writing process. That's where I think this keyboard can really help. It feels like a kind of tool that encourages focus and flow. In fact, for this video, I put it to the test, and everything you're hearing has been written with my iPad paired to the QL75. Overall, I think this is a great looking keyboard. And this is who I think this keyboard is for. This keyboard is for those who value aesthetics and feel over functionality. Now, of course, the aesthetics and feel can lead to more productivity, and having more functionality doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be more productive. Now, don't get me wrong, as far as functionality, as a keyboard, this works fine. It has great build quality. The switches and keycaps are just okay. The backlight is not very bright, but there's no doubt the reason to get this is for how it looks and how it makes you feel. Now, I can see this in setups with the warm and rustic tones, or I could see this in a clean, simple setup where there's not much text surrounding it, like a table dedicated for writing. With that said, would I recommend the Yunzi QL75 typewriter keyboard? For most people, honestly, no. But seeing and using this keyboard in real life, I was actually quite surprised in the fact that I could see scenarios in which other people and myself would use it. Now, when Yunzi first reached out to me about this keyboard and I saw pictures of it, I honestly was coming into this review thinking this would be more gimmick than anything else. I'm pleasantly surprised with the overall feel of the keyboard. This keyboard is not just only going to be a background decoration for my other videos. If you're looking for a typewriter style keyboard, you'll be hard pressed to find something that is as well put together as this thing. Thanks again to Yunzi for sending this out to me. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Consider hitting that subscribe button. Until the next one, see ya.